2 games down, 4 more to go, and we're diving into odds for all of them here on The Sweat, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Emerson Lancia, surrounded by VSiN's Josh Applebaum, a couple DraftKings contributors over here, Steve Buchanan, Julian Edlow. Gentlemen, you three have some best bets to dish out. Before we do that, let's see where these season-long standings stand. Shall we? I know. I have a way with words. We had a show on SNY yesterday, and yes, we are going to count those bets. So, Jules,
we are
falling to 3rd place. What a wet fart. Steve, you remain atop the group because your best bet is a Monday Night Football thing. And Josh, riding with America's team, plus 2.5. The Cardiac Cats deliver, which, speaking of that, yesterday's miracle in Duval County here, boys, a historic comeback, 3rd largest comeback in playoff history in the NFL. A testament to believing and never giving up. Oh, my God. The Jags were down 27-0 at one point, Josh. How about that, big guy, huh?
Unbelievable. The only one happier than me with cashing the 2.5 is with you, my Mr. Jaguar guy over here. So that game was unbelievable. To me, I think it's a test case of not giving up on a bet too early.
Yeah.
You know, the thing about sports betting, which is either great or terrible, is that when you're up big, you're never safe. When you're down big, you're never dead. So that makes, to me, what makes an epic sweat here. And obviously, if you have the Jags, great win. If you have the Chargers, that's a heartbreaker.
Bukes, calling this a Jags comeback or a Chargers meltdown?
Oh man, that's a tough one, honestly, because it feels like it was a mix of two. I mean, we were talking about off air too. It's not like the Jaguars dominated the second half. They literally just played their game plan, while the Chargers just could not get anything going. It was like the tale of 2 separate halves. So it was, I think, really a little bit of both there. But credit to the Jaguars for not coming into that second half being totally out of it. That touchdown at the end, right before the half concluded,
that was clutch.
huge. That was absolutely huge for their mentality.
Okay, Jules, San Francisco did knock off Seattle earlier in the day. Not many people are talking about that game because it wasn't the Jaguars playing in it. But Brock Purdy, hell of a story here. I mean, he was the last pick in the draft here, Jules. And having this kind of success, no matter who is around you and all that talent around him, like, this is really impressive what that kid's doing.
He's the right guy for the job because he's not afraid, right? We've got other rookie quarterbacks. We've got guys that haven't started in the playoffs that are going right now. Maybe they don't have the core around them that Brock Purdy does, but you can try and do too much and ruin a game, or you can not be ready for a moment and lose a game, and he's just not that. Obviously, CMC getting it done on the ground, the defense that they have. The Niners have ways to win games that don't involve Brock Purdy going nuts. It's not like he's putting up Pro Bowl numbers, but he's not ruining it for his team and hasn't done so yet in a string of games that's becoming pretty impressive regardless of the opponents.
Pretty impressive. Let's see what you did there. Josh, best
we were
bets
sitting on that one for a while.
It certainly was. Who or what are you looking at here for the remaining 4 games?
Yeah, so I'll take a best bet here today on the New York Giants. This one jumped out to me, Giants plus 3. A couple reasons why I like the G-Men in this one. We'll get to it later looking at betting percentages, looking at bets in dollars, but you kind of think of it this way. Public play here is Minnesota. It's not that lopsided. They're getting around, I think, 55-60% of bets. But this game opened Minnesota -3. It stayed -3 all week. And pay attention to the juice in this one because the juice, it's not just what you have to pay the books. It's going to give you an indication of maybe which direction the line moves next. So if you look at the juice here, it's +3, -115 to the G-Men. So that tells me G-Men are the side with liability here. They might get down to 2.5 in this game. Also, look at wild card dogs last 5 years. They're 17-9 against the spread. You were 1-1 yesterday, but they've been a good bet historically. If you're a wild card dog playing a team who missed the playoffs the previous year, this cash with the Jags, 11-1 ATS, 92% the last 5 years. G-Men have been great. ATS on the road, 7-1 ATS. Jones, 16-5 ATS as a road dog. And Minnesota, their record's great, 13-4, but they're -3 point differential. That tells me this is a team that's gotten lucky all year long. I'll take the G-Men here. I'll take the +3.
Speaking of 13-4, that was New York's ATS record this year. I mean, best in the league. Yeah, best in the league. Jules, you're going with another rushing prop for your best bet. Rushing prop of Elijah Mitchell let you down yesterday. Who are you counting on today?
It did. If you told me that the Niners were going to put 41 points on the board, blow this game out, McCaffrey was going to go over 100 yards, and Eli Mitchell was going to get 9 carries, I would tell you that I liked my bet even more.
Oh, wow.
Now he takes those 9 carries and goes for 2 yards. I don't know how that is possible. But guess what? It can't go that bad twice in a row. We're going back to backup running back territory here.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
James Cook. I put this one out in my best bets article at 35.5 yards. It's ticking up. It's 37.5. It's 38.5. People are betting the over on James Cook, and I am 100% with them. Look, This is a spot that I think we all expect Miami, Buffalo, whether they cover the 14 or not, to get a pretty big lead in this game and come away with the win at home. Obviously, Skylar Thompson going on the road here, starting a playoff game, not in a good spot. James Cook has been getting a good amount of work within this offense. He had 9 carries for 45 yards against New England to catch the over. He had 11 for 99 against Chicago, would have catched the over. The other time he played New England in Week 13, 14 for 64 to catch the over. He had 11 for 86 against Cleveland recently. Yep. He's been getting a good bulk of work. He did not go over in the recent home game against Miami. 5 yards for just 34 carries, but that was 6.8 yards per carry in what wound up being a 3-point game. He's going to get more touches than that if the margin in this game is what we think it is. And you're playing a Miami defense. Yes, they rank 4th in the NFL in terms of rushing yards allowed per game, but we have to factor in what they have now. They were a different team earlier in the season, and they've been a much worse run defense on the road. They gave up only 78.9 at home, 124.4 in road games. James Cook, rushing. This is not going to go bad twice.
All right.
I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, so have I. I think the key to that bet's going to be the Bills having the lead in the second half and just wearing down an already worn-out Dolphins defense.
We don't even have a hot take segment today. Hot take. He's getting it in the first half.
Okay, wow. All right, mark the tape. Bukes, bring us home here. Your best bet yesterday on our SNY show was Bucks money line, so you want to stick with that?
Yeah, we're going to stick with that because the Bucks are going to win this game against the Cowboys. It feels like the wrong team is favored here. Getting Tom Brady as an underdog at home in the playoffs just feels totally obscure, especially when you consider the opponent being the Dallas Cowboys, who've been absolutely putrid defensively, especially over the past 5 games. When you consider the opponents that they've played and the amount of points that they've given up, it's insane to think that this team is now going to come into Tampa and beat the Buccaneers. 23 points to the Houston Texans. How did that happen? They almost lost that game. 40 points to Jacksonville Jaguars. Obviously a great offensive juggernaut, right?
Thank you.
34 points to the Eagles. That was led by Gardner Minshew. 13 to the Titans without Derrick Henry and Josh Dobbs at quarterback, so fine, we'll give him that one. But then 26 points last week to Sam Howell and the Washington Commanders. You're telling me now that this Buccaneers offense, which just really seems like it's gotten back on the same page, especially Brady and Mike Evans, are not going to win this game outright against the Cowboys? This is a gift from all the bookmakers out there. Get the Bucks at plus money on the money line to win this game and beat the Cowboys.
Dak currently playing the worst football of his career, and the opportunity to bet on Tom Brady as a home underdog in the playoffs, extremely rare. And speaking of Tom Brady, everybody, how the 7-time Super Bowl champ can improve to 8-0 all time against Dallas, despite the odds saying that it ain't happening. What Steve and Jules are sweating, coming up.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and this season, new customers can bet $5 to win $200 in free bets instantly. Use code SWEAT when you sign up.
All right, back here on The Sweat, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm Emerson Lotzi. We got Steve and Jules standing by. We're going to find out what they are sweating today, what they're giving some extra thought to before placing their bets. So, Bukes, how much are you sweating Miami's quarterback situation in Buffalo? Skylar Thompson set to make the start today. And what was that spread? Last time I checked, 14 on the DK Sportsbook here.
No, it's just brutal, right? I mean, Skylar Thompson going to be making the start here. It was announced this morning that Teddy Bridgewater is going to be active, but he is going to be the backup for Thompson. I think
that's a really interesting piece.
That is a really interesting piece because when it comes to who's probably the better one to at least keep you in this game, you would think it's Bridgewater, but obviously they're going to be rolling with Thompson here. I mean, he has had 98 pass attempts in games so far this season, only 1 touchdown to go with that, and they've only averaging about 12 points per game in games that he started here. Now you're going up against this dynamic Buffalo team who defensively haven't been as strong with Von Miller out, but at this point, where's the offense going to come from here? When you have someone as dynamic as Tyreek Hill only going for over 40 yards last week with Thompson, I mean, that says a lot to you right there because of obviously his great playmaking ability. So this is a really tough spot for the Dolphins. I'm not giving him much of a chance today.
This rookie quarterback situation is not Brock Purdy and the Niners.
Right. Both 7th-round draft picks, though.
Yeah, that's about where the comps end. Thank you for chiming in over there, Emerson. This offense, the way they move the ball is getting it to Jalen Waddle, getting it to Tyreek Hill. These speedsters and scoring, they do rely on the quarterback heavily to have success. So you can't hide him. Like I said, I'm surprised that if Bridgewater's healthy enough to be active, he's not the guy. Your season's on the line. You're on the road. Huge underdogs in a playoff situation. I feel like you want the veteran Teddy Bridgewater, even if he's a little dinged up in this situation. So he must be in pretty bad shape, I would guess, if you have to go with Skylar Thompson.
You guys want to talk about an interesting situation here at quarterback. You have reports this morning saying that Baltimore plans to play both Tyler Huntley and Anthony Brown against Cincinnati here. They played just a week ago here, guys. Cincinnati hasn't lost since Halloween. So, Jules, how much should bettors be sweating this Ravens quarterback carousel?
Very much. The old saying, if you got 2 quarterbacks, you got none. And I would say that applies here. Snoop Huntley gets the start. That's a little bit different than last week. So you throw, I don't know if you want to call it a curveball, but it's something different at least at the Bengals. But, oh, man, you're really overmatched here. And, what is it? Now both quarterbacks are playing scared. I don't want to throw a pick because I don't want the other guy to play the rest of the game. That usually turns into a mess. I don't see how this is a good thing for Baltimore unless one of them comes, the guy that doesn't start, I guess being Brown, comes in and really lights up the game and it's like, oh, we found something here. But do any of us see that happening? I don't think so.
Well, not only that, what scenario would you even be comfortable backing Baltimore in this spot, even if it was Lamar Jackson? Because he's coming into this game. He wouldn't be healthy at all. You take away his legs probably, which is his most dynamic weapon. So now you have this carousel between Brown and Huntley at this point. I mean, look at what the Bengals defense was able to do to Brown last week. 2 interceptions, 4 sacks. If he's out there, he wasn't able to get away from that pressure last week. Yeah. Not much is going to change within the span of 7 days. And then, yes, the big point there, with Huntley, the Ravens are averaging 12 points per game. This is what they've been averaging over the last 6 games. It has been brutal for the Ravens. They've had no answers for the Bengals in the games that they've played them. It's not going to change here. This being at 8.5 with the carousel at the quarterbacks, you got to like that number there.
You're going to need a lot more than that number of points to beat Joe Burrow today.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into Monday Night Football between Dallas and Tampa Bay here, guys, earlier this week I caught up with Cowboys linebacker Leighton Vander Esch to kind of find out what the vibe is like right now inside the Dallas locker room leading up to tomorrow night.
The mood's extremely high and confident. Everybody's super excited. But I mean, today was first day of our prep, so we got our good amount of the game plan in, and we're just taking it a day at a time. That's it right now.
Yeah, is the mood a little tense in there as well? It's like Panda Watch, from Anchorman. The mood is tense.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's necessarily tense. I would say it's intense.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, that's exactly how I would describe it. I mean, everybody's intense and locked in and ready to go.
Jules, Bucs are trying to advance to the divisional round for a 3rd straight year with Tom Brady as their quarterback. This year, they're a little different, 8-9. What are you sweating with this team?
I mean, what I'm sweating with the Bucs is that they haven't been all that good this season.
Yep.
I think we know that. But like Steve and I have talked about all week, the Cowboys need to be sweating too, because this last 5-game sample that we've talked about so much, Dallas hasn't been very good. barely beat the Texans. They collapse on the road to the Jaguars. Dak Prescott has thrown 8 interceptions over the last 5 games. He led the league. He tied for the lead in the league with interceptions after missing 5 games to start the season. He's been a turnover machine. If you turn it over on the road against Tom Brady in the playoffs, like, what I'm not sweating here is that Brady's not going to make the back-breaking mistakes to cost his team the game. So if somebody else that's been making a lot of mistakes is going to make them in Dak Prescott, probably going to be able to capitalize in Tampa, even through all the issues they've had this season.
I mean, Bukes, based off your best bet, I mean, you're probably not sweating much with Tampa Bay, but what would be your biggest concern with them?
I mean, the biggest concern is that Tampa has been a horrible team against the spread this season. They have one of the worst records in the league, especially
worse
at
at home.
home. Yeah, they were worse at home. They only covered 1 game at home this season. That being said, what scenario is the Dallas Cowboys stronger than the Bucs? I really can't find an instance here. What does Dallas love to do? They love to run the ball. This has been one of the better run defenses in the league. So if they can't get anything going on the ground, then that means Dak Prescott has to throw. What's been happening when he's throwing the ball? It's going to the other team. That's been half the problem there. So you're giving possibly good field position for Tom Brady in the playoffs at home. Like, look, if I end up losing this bet because I was backing Tom Brady at home as an underdog, so be it. I think Tampa's a better team in this scenario going up against the Bucs. So I'm not sweating anything with Tampa. Like I said, I think they win this game outright.
Prescott was 14 for 37 throwing the ball against Washington in Week 18.
Yeah.
In a game that when it started, they had something to play for.
Right.
Dallas currently on an 8-game road playoff losing streak, tied for second longest playoff history. How about that?
You squeezed a stat in there, man.
That's right. Dude, you two take a break. We'll grab your favorite prop bets coming up. But first, it's time to find out which way the public is leaning in today's games and what we can learn from it. Josh will return when the Sweat presented by DraftKings Sportsbook returns.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and this season, new customers can bet $5 to win $200 in free bets instantly. Use code SWEAT when you sign up.
All right, so the Giants are trying to win their first postseason game in a whole decade. Many people are obviously going to point to Brian Daboll's influence. However, it obviously doesn't hurt to have a productive and healthy Saquon Barkley in the backfield, racking up north of 1,600 total yards this season, 10 tutties. We asked former NFL lineman and current DraftKings podcast host Ross Tucker how he expects this game against the Vikings to play out today.
Took the Giants and the points on the Even Money podcast. This is a field goal game either way. We just watched it.
Yeah.
The Vikings kicker made a 61-yard field goal. It's field goal game either way. So give me the G-men and the 3 points. I win if they win. I win if they lose by 1 or 2. If they lose by a field goal in overtime, very possible. It's a push. Giants +3 is the way to go there.
All right, Josh Applebaum has returned. Let's dive into where the public is spending its money today, shall we? And let's start with the Giants, because Ross Tucker seems to like the G-men with the points, but the public seems to be siding with Minnesota here. The numbers right now, 56% of bets coming in on the Vikings. More handle, though, on the Giants at 52%. Where are you leaning, and why is it New York? Because your best bet was Giants +3.
Yeah, so I can't go against my best bet here. I'm on the G-men, and I'm with Ross. And I think if you look at the betting percentages, to me, if you're a data-driven bettor, you trust the percentages here, because what you're trying to do is take your bias out of the equation and ask yourself, hey, what's the market doing? Where are the wise guys at? Where's the public at? So Emerson, it's not the most lopsided game in the world. Like, you're only getting about 56, as you mentioned, 56, 60% here on Minnesota. But I think the important thing is that despite the majority of bets on Minnesota, the line isn't moving toward Minnesota. You know, typically, if you're getting a majority of bets, you open -3, you're juiced up, maybe you go to 3.5. No, that hasn't happened here. This line continues to show liability on the G-men. They're getting low bets, higher dollars. They're a contrarian bet here because the public is on Minnesota. So that's a good sign here. If you're getting less than half the tickets, but more than half the money, it tells me that those bigger wagers are in your favor. And also, Emerson, keep an eye on the total in this one. Public's actually leaning under in this one, but it's about 55% of bets on the under. But this total did rise. It was around 47.5 at one point. I see a 48 now out there. So this would almost be a bit of a contrarian overplay. And Minnesota has been a really good over team this year. They're 11-6 to the over. They're 7-2 to the over at home. Remember, these teams played a little while ago, a few weeks ago. I think it was a 27-24 game that would have gone over that number.
Yeah, it was Christmas Eve. Speaking of over, man, the public loves the over here for Bengals-Ravens, which is currently set at 40.5, the lowest on the DraftKings Sportsbook right now of the remaining 4 wild card playoff games here. 66% of bets, 65% of handle on the over. These two teams combined for 43 points just last week, but that was also with Baltimore resting a lot of its starters on defense here. What direction are these numbers pointing you in?
So I'd point to the under here. I mean, this one to me jumps out as a looks too good to be true to take the over. It's only 40.5 here. I think I actually just saw it fall to 40 at some shops, so you're getting this late movement to the under. And this would be classified to me as a reverse line move, when the betting line moves in the opposite direction of the betting percentages. You have 2 out of 3 bets on the over, yet this thing keeps falling. Why are the odds makers dropping this number, Emerson, to make it easier for you to bet the over when the public loves the over to begin with? So to me, that's a little bit fishy there. And you mentioned it here. You know, these teams just went over a few weeks ago, but remember, that was Anthony Brown turning the ball over like 3 different times in his own 20, 30-yard line here. I'd be looking toward the under here. It's kind of a hold your nose and trust the data and go contrarian.
Well, speaking of fishy, quickly here, Dolphins are in Buffalo. Similar situation. 67% of the bets coming in on the over, 43.5. Do you see the Bills having enough to carry this by themselves, especially with Skylar Thompson under center for the Dolphins?
So that's your concern here. I don't think you're going to get much offense here from Thompson. We did see this thing just rise, though. I think it was 44. It's now getting up at some shops, juiced up closer to 45.5.
Yep.
One comment here, though. If you look at these big wild card favorites at home, 9 points or more, they're 9-0 ATS since 2005. So I know it's a big public play to Buffalo here, but that is one trend if you want to lay the points. It's kind of like Buffalo's in that 49er spot from yesterday.
Yeah, 80% of the bets coming on the Bills to cover, 90% of the bets on Bills' money line there. Nice work, dude. One more break to go, one more block to go. Our analysts will share their favorite prop bets for the remaining games here on Wild Card Weekend when the sweat returns.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and this season, new customers can bet $5 to win $200 in free bets instantly. Use code SWEAT when you sign up.
All right, back here on the Sweat, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Emerson, Josh, Steve, Jules. Time to share your favorite prop bets here, gentlemen. Josh, where are you going?
So I'll go to that G-Men game. Daniel Jones, give me the over 242.5 passing yards. It's juiced up, -125. A lot to like about Jones having a big game through the air. Emerson, Minnesota is 31st in passing yards allowed this year, 266 yards allowed. Week 16, Daniel Jones threw for 334 against the Vikes. I like him today to throw the ball quite a bit. Give me the over 242.5.
Only pass defense that's worse than Minnesota's was the Titans. Jules, probably don't hate that as long as a lot of those yards go to Richie James.
Yes, we're going to tie this one right in. Obviously, my favorite prop is James Cook rushing yards. Gave that out as my best bet. But another one that I really like, Richie James over 47.5 receiving. You look at his last 4 games. He's had 61 or more in 4 of them, including 90 in that game against the Vikings. He caught 8 of 11 targets. Give me 11 targets to Richie James. We're going well over here.
All right, Bukes, what do you got?
Chris Godwin, anytime touchdown in that game versus the Dallas Cowboys. Second on the team in red zone targets with 15. So like I mentioned, the second highest total in the league. He's Brady's primary target too, over 9 targets per game. He should get one in the end zone here in this win over the Cowboys.
Price is kind of long there, but probably because he only has 3 touchdowns this season, but by far Brady's most reliable target.
Yep, no doubt.
Yeah,
All right, everybody.
Mike Evans is pretty good.
Well, you know what? He's also going to have Trayvon Diggs on him all game, which is going to open up
No doubt.
your guy even more. Wow, no doubt. Look at us together again. Okay.
Give me add Mike Evans anytime
All right,
touchdown
that's fine.
to my
That's
props.
fine. All right, everybody, that is a show. Thanks for hanging with us. So we'll be back here next Sunday, same time, same place. You can also catch the show throughout the week, Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock Eastern Time. And you two have a podcast on Reasonable Odds, so listen to that.
Yeah.
Later.